Hi there, my friend's birthday is this weekend, and I wanted to make them a fish-shaped purse. It was expressed on the party invitation that things ought to be as whimsical as possible. Not the gifts necessarily, but I'm bringing a gift and I'm gonna make it. It's gonna be whimsical as fuck. So, I don't know why I got so attached to this idea of making a fish-shaped purse or bag, but I am, so that's what I'm doing. And I really wanna make it out of mostly or entirely vintage and reclaimed materials. So, let's go to the flea market, see what we can find. Okay, I'm just leaving my local flea market and I got a bunch of like vintage handkerchiefs and like doilies and stuff and some pillowcases too with a really cool like scalloped trim that I think will work really well. So, and a nice coffee, of course, and a zipper and some buttons. So yeah, I'll do like a little haul when I get home and then I think throw these on gentle cycle in the wash, see what happens. I don't know. Okay, I got some goodies. Okay. I left something in my pocket upstairs, I just realized. Okay, so I decided I wanted to get like vintage handkerchiefs and stuff. My original idea was going to make like the bag out of like plain material and then add like buttons all over it to look like the scales. But all the like jars of vintage buttons were like stupid expensive. Like $15 for a half full jar of buttons is, I'm sorry, stupid. So then I was looking at these vintage handkerchiefs and I was like, man, I feel bad about like sewing the edges of these together because the edge is the pretty part. So I was like, oh, let me cut them triangularly and make the triangles like the layered scales. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I got a bunch of cool stuff, hoping it's enough. So I got this bag of like assorted handkerchiefs, which was $6.25. I think I ended up spending $20 total on all the materials, and it's entirely made out of vintage and reclaimed materials, so I think that's pretty cool. So some of these are Christmassy, which I'm not going to use, but I figured they'll be really nice for decorating for Christmas in the future. I don't know. But then some of them, you know, were just like, see, these cool patterns are all on the edge, so my plan is to like cut out like triangles, you know what I mean, like cut it across here, and then make that look like the scales. See, a bunch more Christmas. And then this one had a bunch of these blue and white ones. I hope you can see that. And then these that had this really beautiful daffodil embroidery on them, which I thought that was sick as hell. So I was like, you know, I'll like alternate between plain and embroidered so this fish looks fancy as hell. And then I had a bunch of these. So it's gonna be mostly made up of these blue and white ones. And then I got these, this is a set of pillowcases, which was $7 for the set of 2. And I thought that this embroidery in the edge was so cool, I'm just going to take whatever shape I end up getting for the other ones and just like, you know, triangulating it so we get the same shape. But it's also cool because it's got these like holes, so you'll be able to see whatever's underneath it, which I thought was cool. Plus, the rest of this plain fabric is going to make up like the head of the fish, the body of the fish, and the like functional bag lining on the inside. So I got 2 of those. The thing is most of these came in like even numbers, which is nice. So I'll be able to like layer evenly on each side. And then I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. I got these really beautiful, delicate, lacy whatevers. I haven't decided specifically what I'm going to do with these, but what I had in mind was either folding them. I'll probably end up folding them instead of cutting these because this like network is so delicate. Kind of in half like this and maybe like that, and then that'll be like the fins either on top or on the back end. I might do these for the fins on top or on the side, like fold them in half and like stitch them across that way, you know. I thought would be really beautiful, so that there's one on each side. And then I got this pack of, this was $2.99. This one was $2.99 for these. I think there's 6 here. And then this for these 2 was $1. Let me get this little safety pin out of here. Doop. Let's see, we got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 6 of them. And so these, I was thinking I might make the tail out of, you know, just make it like fold. Actually, yeah, there's a bunch here. Like fold them in half like that and like layer them like 3 for each. I don't know, I haven't decided exactly how I'm gonna do that. You know, maybe like that attached to the end for like a roughly sort of tail. I don't know, I think it could be really cool. You know, 3 on each side or whatever. Actually, I think there's 7 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could be tripping. I don't know how to count. And then I got a zipper. There's a booth with like a ton of craft stuff, which is helpful for me. It's like this teal blue color. I'm trying to do more like on the blue and white side, of course. It's not super long, so I'm gonna kind of base the measurements around this. This is gonna be like hold the actual purse part together that you stick your hand into and all that. And this was $1.25. And then I got these buttons for the eyes. So they're gonna go like on either side of the bag. Yeah, I can't decide if I should wash everything, because on one hand, probably, but on the other hand, a lot of these things are really, really delicate or are already super clean. And so I'm kind of like, I think like, especially like this would not hold up in a washing machine, and I don't have, you know, any other way. I brought my scissors over here. Where did they go? Just kind of held together with embroidery thread. And I know this booth said that these were clean and laundered, and those were in a plastic bag. So I think that they're okay. I don't think I'm gonna wash everything. Normally I would, if I was gonna like wear things, but I think because I'm making it for a bag, see, those are just stunning. Like, look at the network on that, you know? I'm also trying to ignore the little voices in my head that's telling me like I'm an evil person for buying all these beautiful, delicate vintage things to make a fish purse out of. But I know that there's also a very good chance that these things would just end up in a landfill at the end of the day. And so I'm like preventing that from happening by doing something with it, is what I'm telling myself. So yeah, I'm gonna set these Christmas ones aside and maybe just like make something with them next year for holiday season. And notions. So what I'm going to do then is set everything aside, and I'm gonna make a pattern using, I have this pile of paper bags over here. So I'm going to deconstruct those, press them flat with a dry iron, and grab probably a Sharpie and a ruler, and then make a pattern for how I want this to look. Yeah, and then I'm going to start cutting those really carefully. Kind of terrified to do that, and stitching them together. I think what I'm going to do is cut them each like in fourths, so that I just have this like little triangle bit there, you know what I mean? And then start patterning them kind of how I want it to look, and then top stitch that together, and then take the paper pattern, whatever I end up with, put that like over top of it, trace it out, so that I can cut things out. Chalk, that's what I was gonna buy. I forgot to buy chalk. Okay. I'm gonna have to use pencil or something like that to mark my stitching. That's okay. All right. Okay, I can't find a good angle that showcases both what's on the table and me. So I think I'm gonna have to sit. So I'm using this book here as a straight edge, or not a straight edge, a right angle, because I have a straight edge here. But I'm basically just gonna line it up to the corner just so I can mark like where the design falls, so I can make the pattern for the scales. This is gonna make sense when you see it. It makes sense in my head, I promise. Let me measure how far out this design goes. I'm just gonna do 5 inches so that I have extra seam allowance. Because sometimes I do things without seam allowance on accident, and that's always bad, so. Cool. So each of the scales is going to be a little bit smaller than that, but they're going to be like overlapped. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. And if you won't, you'll see. It works in my head, I swear. So I'm going to write on it, this is Sharpie for this, scale plus 0.5 seam allowance. Boop. Okay, let me think. I think next I'm going to do the body of the bag, which I need the zipper for this. Can't be any longer than the zipper. So I had this thought. Let me get out one of these pillowcases here. That the first scale could be like this little thing here I could cut out and use to like frame the head of the fish. I thought that could be really pretty, but I have to measure it. It's like 7¼ inches. Okay, well it's gotta be 8½ long. 1/2 inch seam allowance on either side. Let's do 7 inches. And then I'll look at it. Yeah, I think that's a good size. It's gonna be roomy. is what it's gonna be. Yeah, okay, cool. Actually, it could fit this book in it, which is good. I feel like a purse nowadays should be able to fit like your phone, wallet, keys at least. So, and whatever else my dear friend would like to carry. I don't know why I said it like that. Okay, and the cool part about this is that this piece is just gonna double as the body of the fish. So I'm gonna need 4 of these, basically. Oh, I should have added seam allowance to that. Okay, whatever. Add seam allowance real quick. My goal for today is I'm hoping to get the fabric all cut out. And then the rest of this week, when I'm off work in the evenings, I can actually sew it together is my goal. And then I am off all day Saturday. So it's like, and the party's not till 7 p.m. And so it's like, you know, if I do need more time, I guess I can do the finishing touches then, but I'd rather not have to do that, is all I'm saying. Boom. All right. So now that I know the angle of the head, I'm worried this is going to be kind of ginormous, actually, is my main concern right now. That this ends up being like a really big, no, it's not going to be huge. It's not going to be huge. It's not that I wanted it to be small, but, you know, I was a little worried about the size. Okay. So it's just a check. This is 7 inches, correct? So the head needs to be 7 inches. So the head's just going to be a triangle. Then I think I'll make a softer triangle, like a shallower one for the tail, and then just like attach all those to it so it's not so blocky. Seam allowances don't need to be so exact because they're getting chopped anyways. I almost wonder if I should like, let me fill this in and then I'll show you what I mean. I almost wonder if this is too pointy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't know what I'm saying because I haven't showed it to you yet. Not too pointy. I feel like I'd rather give him a little mouth. I feel like he needs a mouth. Yeah. Can you see that? Give him a little bit of a mouth. Maybe bring it in another 1/2 inch. Yeah, I think that's whimsical. Yeah. Okay. So I've got the head, I've got the tail, I've got the, I need to sketch something. Okay, trapezoid. Okay, if I've done my math right, which I probably haven't, this triangle should fit right onto the tail. Tail fins, okay. So I need 4 of those, 2 of the head, however many of the scales. I'm just gonna cut out a shit ton of them and start layering them. 2 of the tail buds, and 4 of the body pieces. I'm gonna get these cut out and get the fabric cut out. Ow. Update you soon. So this is how it's gonna look. There's gonna be 2 of these, and hopefully they're gonna be lightweight enough that they'll kind of drape nicely, and I'll put the lace on them. I need about 2 of those, 4 of those, 4 of those, however many of those I end up with, and I'm just gonna layer them nicely so it has this fluttery effect, and then 2 of those. Yeah, and then the zipper's gonna go across the top, and there should be, I'm gonna make some handles just out of whatever scrap is left. Okay, I've got all the pieces cut out. This is the head. I thought it would be really cool to do this scalloping like over the scales. This is the body piece. There's 4 pieces here, so 2 pieces are gonna be the inside lining. They're gonna be closed with a zipper. I have to cut out sides and a bottom for it as well. And then I changed the tail a little bit so I can put this really cool scalloping on the edge of the tail. I thought that would be really pretty. And then I've got all these pieces that I'm gonna kind of like, you know, layer across like that in strips, I think, 3 at a time across. And then hopefully I have enough here to kind of fill out the body and make it look cool. I'm gonna have to play around a lot with how that's gonna look. Yeah, so now I just have to cut out pieces for the inside and base, that sort of thing. But yeah, this is kind of what it's gonna look like. Okay, cutting is all I have time for today because I have work in a couple hours and I have to get ready for that. Hopefully tomorrow, I think, I'm gonna spend the evening actually ironing and stitching some of these pieces together and it will start to take shape. But I think it's looking pretty cool. Okay, I think I got like an arrangement for the scales that I like. I've divided them up. I ended up having to toss a few so that I had an even number. Toss aside. And so I think this is how one side's gonna look. This will probably be like the front. You know, it's gonna be mostly symmetrical, double-sided, but this one's got this piece, which there's only one of. So I was like, that'll be the front. And then these pieces I'll arrange on the back. So I'm gonna go stitch across these sets of a time. And then I think probably fold under before top stitching over. Maybe. Had to get more thread from my stash because I immediately ran out doing a tester strip, which is good. I think I'll just pencil mark where I want each strips of scales to start and end so that I can stick them back on where I've got them arranged here. I think that's gonna look really cool. All right, the 2 scale side panels are done. I think they look really cool. I'm actually really excited about how this is turning out. Okay, I attached the tails. 2, so I have 2 panels, 2 fish panels here now. Okay, so it's sort of coming together. I had the body all stitched together. It occurred to me that I should have figured out the strap situation and attached that in between the zipper and the outside of the body, but I didn't think that far ahead. So I'm gonna have to figure that out at some point. I might just attach them on the outside of the body and use some of these lace doilies to cover where the strap meets the body. But anyways, I've kind of pinned the tail together so you can see how that's gonna look. I need to add like the bottom of the bag, but it's basically, the inside is a functioning pouch right now. I attached the button eyes. I think this looks so cute. I mean, come on, look at that. It's gonna be really silly. I think I'm gonna pack it up for the night because I am almost done. I think it looks really cool. You know, I'm worried that this spot looks a little too bare, but I think these are a little bit drapey, so it's gonna be fine. Yeah, and then I also have to figure out, because right now it's like I do have these little gaps where the zipper meets the fabric, so I'm gonna have to like have some little pieces to sort of cover that up, and then I do have to, I think, pinch this in a little bit so the head fits properly over the body pieces. But yeah, zipper's all put in. This was a lot of fabric to stitch. My machine did not like it. Let me... Boom. It's like, well... I'm so terrible about filming because I've been listening to YouTube videos, but basically it's gonna look like this. To attach something here, because as you can see, it's just kind of like opening a little bit too wide there. Gotta cover it up with something. Yeah, it's gonna be like this little fish bag, and then boom, inside it's like a nice roomy pouch. I wanted it to be able to fit like cell phone and stuff. I can't decide if I want to tack down the scales. See how they're a little bit floppy? Like obviously the ones on the bottom are going to be stitched to the bottom part of the bag, but I can't really decide if I want to tack them down or if I want it to have this sort of movement. I kind of like the movement. I think it's a vibe. I think for the tail pieces, I'm just going to kind of top stitch along this embroidery so that there's not like an obvious stitch to sort of preserve this detailing here. Yeah, isn't that sick? That's so sick. I feel like I should get them something to put in here. I don't know what though. I mean, the birthday party is tomorrow. It's literally Friday, so it's not like I'm able to. I just feel like I should fill that with candy or something, you know? I'm like really proud of how this is turning out, considering I didn't use a pattern and I just kind of was like, I see a fish bag in my head, I'm gonna deconstruct it in my brain and then make a fish bag. I don't know, it's hard to explain how my brain works sometimes. Okay, so fun fact, the needle on my machine snapped, so I had to take that out and I apparently don't have a replacement. So, luckily I'm almost done, and most of the heavy sewing is like done. So I did the edges of the tail by hand. This I'm planning on doing by hand anyways, just so I can really closely follow that embroidery. Just gonna tack it together. And then I'm gonna decide how to attach the head. And these just gonna have to be tacked together a little bit. That's probably gonna be difficult because look how thick that is. And then straps, which I was probably gonna do by hand anyways. Alright, so because my machine broke and I don't want to do something super complicated with the fabric for the straps, I remembered I had this blue velvet lip ribbon laying around. So I thought that would go really well. It kind of matches the eye, so.